Hey folks, you might remember this, the £60 Lenovo PC I bought last year. Now after butchering it to fit in the seller's unknown GPU and swapping in a half decent budget power supply, it turned out to be a nice little system that performed well. The thing is though, that it is a really tight case, with pretty terrible airflow, and this has led to the unknown cards, which turned out to be a GTX 770, struggling for air, a lot more than if it had something like a GTX 1050 or RX 560 in it. Now even the little i3 shows temperatures much higher than I'd like thanks to the stock Intel fan, terrible airflow, and cheap OEM thermal paste which must be knocking on for over half a decade old at this point. Now ever since buying it I've felt kinda bad, it's just been sitting on a shelf and it's not really been getting any chance to shine. Until now that is. Running this channel it's meant that I've accumulated a lot of bits and bobs, and since it's coming up to spring I thought that I'd better give some of these items some purpose in case they became victim to my wife's overly aggressive cleaning up tactics. So first up was to find a case, and what better place to start than my old Corsair Carbide 88R. Now this once housed my Pentium G3258 system with the R9 280X, but it's recently been relegated to basically a footrest under the desk. It's not pretty, but a good clean up, a little bit of black touch up here and there, and some wax brings the case up to scratch, which I'm honestly really surprised that it's not been a well cared for box. The acrylic side panel though is another matter. I always loathed acrylic side panels, they're absolute dust magnets, and even when cleaning it with the highest quality cloth it left hairline scratches, but breaking out some car headlight polish did help here, but it's more of a case of when, not if, you're going to scratch it. So swapping out the acrylic for maybe some mesh in the future might be an option. Now with the new home sorted, it was time to strip down the Lenovo hack job. I'm going to be reusing the Ivy Bridge Core i3-3220, the Lenovo motherboard, I know it's terrible, the 4GB of DDR3 RAM and the hard disk drive which already has Windows 10 Pro installed. Now I did want to add a small boot SSD, but with the OS already freshly installed on the mechanical hard drive I decided to leave it as is, long boot times and all. The Asus GTX 770 2GB card will be staying as part of this build, as will the EVGA 500W 80+ white power supply I squeezed into the Lenovo case the last time. Now disassembly of this Lenovo case, it didn't throw up any challenges. It uses a standard micro ATX motherboard and the mounting holes are also in the standard location, so should have no issues getting it into the Corsair case. Now this isn't always the case with some vendors like HP and Dell to be precise. They often have little design changes that make doing jobs like this a little bit more painful, so thumbs up to Lenovo for making it easy. Now airflow in this carbide case is decent enough for the size, and to maximise that I'm going to be using two Corsair white LED 120mm fans on top of the included black 120mm fan that comes with the case. I'm also going to be swapping out the stock Intel cooler for this Ryzen Leto single fan version, which I bought for a friend's build but didn't actually get around to using. Networking is going to be taken care of an eBay dongle, and we're going to add a second 500GB hard drive which already has all my games on it, and some PCIe power cable extensions to give a bit more flexibility in cable routing. With the OEM heatsink and fan removed and the CPU cleaned up with some isopropyl alcohol, it was time to install the Ryzen cooler. Now on my first build for this channel I bought the cheap and very cheerful Ryzen IDOS, and to be honest with you it was a great little cooler. This new Leto is more of the same, except now that it comes coated in black and it has a larger 120mm fan instead of the 90mm fan that I used to have on the IDOS. On this Lenovo motherboard there are a few little differences with what you would expect from an off-the-shelf board. The hole spacings are standard Intel affair, but they seem to be orientated 90 degrees from what you would normally see. This left me with two choices: either have the cooler blowing air on top of the GPU, or limit the space between the GPU and the cooler fan and have it push air out of the top. I chose the latter, and I'm going to try and promote airflow in from the front bottom and out through the rear top. Installation of the Leto was simple and it offers a good amount of adjustability. If you've used an IDOS or a similar cooler in the past, mounting is going to be exactly the same as that, with a back plate on the back secured through by screws and standoffs. Two mounts at either side of the CPU can then be screwed in place and adjusted before adding your chosen thermal paste to the CPU. The cooler is then lowered down onto the CPU with a brace bar already sitting on top which holds the CPU down, and it's secured by two screws. It is as simple as that. But with this new cooler installed, which looks rather meaty for such a low end Core i3, I clicked in the second stick of DDR3 memory, and that was the heart of the Lenovo ready for its transplant. So from a 4GB memory, 500GB hard drive bog standard desktop to a very decent budget gaming system with 1TB of storage space, 8GB of DDR3 and beefed up air cooling, LED fans and that nice GTX 770, we've got something to be proud of here. Sure, the base of the system only cost me £100 and it would have been perfectly serviceable, especially if you swapped out that suffocating GTX 770 for something a little smaller and cooler. And to be perfectly honest with you, buying all these modifications would likely in total cost me more than the base system, but that's part of the fun of this. I was looking through eBay, and if I were buying all the additions from scratch instead of using my spares, it would have set me back about £110 to £120. But if you consider the system as a whole, for say £220, you could really do a lot worse than this budget rig. So I think this is going to be the new budget test rig, a true representation of the really bottom end gaming, and I'm sure that's something that's going to be attainable for a lot of you out there, totally despondent about the state of new hardware prices. So how does it perform? Well, stay tuned as the benchmarks for this video is going to be coming next week. For now though, I've really thoroughly enjoyed mashing together all these spare parts for a build. Especially when it's using a mishmash of parts that were simply sitting in a cupboard. I think it looks great, and even that green Lenovo motherboard is not too noticeable tucked away at the back. But I want your feedback on this build and what you think I should be doing next. I'm sure a lot of you have got a lot of ideas on what you would want to do with this build, and I really want to hear it. But if you've reached this point in the video, I just want to say thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and you'll be able to find out what kind of performance this little guy produces next week. And as always, I'll see you in the comment section down below, and in the next video.